Hello everybody, I'm SJM. Welcome to a new player video where I'm going to go over all of the heroes that you start off with for free, and then take a look at which of the first few heroes you should concentrate on buying with your hard-earned dust or your pay-to-win gems there. So we're just going to, for now, just jump into a practice brawl, not a live brawl, so that we can talk about things here. So when you start up a new game, you do start with a choice of 4 different heroes there. Heroes that you've purchased will be unlocked. So in this one, then they would only appear over here. You can also have one that you've purchased in the second slot as well. But the first slot is where you will find one of the 8 starter heroes pop up regularly, and the second slot will be a hero that you have to buy, but you get to pick it for just a trial, right? So take your time, play lots of games either in practice or in live, and go over, try to pick these as often as possible where you don't have Merlin, because Merlin is strictly by far the best free hero that you can pick, and is actually quite strong considering all the heroes all together. But then, yeah, if you've bought one of the other heroes and it shows up in slot 3 or slot 4, you won't see this purchase option here. And then you'll be able to pick it as well. The other way you can buy it is in the 8th place, is in the collection here. So if you go on to one of these, you can unlock it using your dust or your gems there. So 2 different ways. I like to, and it was this way and earlier in the beta. We're still in beta, so this even may change going forward, but see here, I've already unlocked both of these extra characters over here, so it wasn't quite the example that I wanted. So we'll try again. So at any rate, if this had that buy option there, then I would click it there, and it would give me the option to use dust or gems, and then I would be able to buy the unit. So of the 8 starter heroes, as I've already alerted to, Merlin is by far the best. One of the biggest reasons for that is his buffs, or his strength, or his special ability, doesn't go away at any point in the, and it doesn't really, it falls off towards the end, but it can be cumulatively really, really good. So when you cast a spell, give a random character +2/+1 permanently. You have some degree of control over this, and just note that this is one of the characters or one of the heroes there where you don't really want to keep, garbage units in your hand slots, which is the 4 slots below where you have your board, just for specific instances where you might want to put in, or just to bank some money to be able to spend in other shops, because your buffs can actually hit those units which you don't want. So there's a little bit of a play to Merlin, some strategy, but otherwise, if you get an early Wizard's Apprentice, Wizard's Familiar, and you start hitting it with some of Merlin's buffs and keep casting spells all the way through the game, that unit will be in your end game composition, in that sense that Merlin's, and then it gets really cumulatively quite big if you landed on him enough. So another one of the pretty strong options is Pup, although this is one of those heroes that you need a specific type of unit. So you need a unit that offers support, which gives bonuses to the characters in front of it. So this needs to be in your back line, and then your support unit would be in the back line, and then your units in front of it would get an additional +2/+1 on top of whatever bonus that that support unit is giving. Mrs. Claus and Krampus are kind of a wash. One is for evil characters and one is for good characters, and they just get a paltry +1/+1. This is good for the first 5, 7, 8 turns of the game. Can come into play a little bit later here and there, but generally that's about where it falls off, is when you get up to about level 4 and into level 5. It really doesn't mean much anymore. Whereas Pup, you can find, support units at all stages of the game and keep upgrading your supports in the back, getting stronger and stronger that way. Just be aware that some spells and some characters can grief your backline units pretty easily. Geppetto is a pretty decent hero now as well. It used to be just a +2/+2 bonus when you summoned a character, but now it's +3/+3, so he is actually quite strong in the early game. Fairly decent through the mid game, but then falls off towards the end game. But still not totally unreasonable, especially if you pair it with other effects that help out with your summons, like summoning portal, etc. Jack's Giant is not too bad off. It's really good for the first few turns as well, but then kind of falls off towards the mid game, and then can kind of actually get outclassed even early with just a couple of good support units or just strong overall characters as well that can overcome that +2 health bonus pretty easily. And then after these are the unit-specific heroes, and then we've got some sort of, we've got the 2 heroes that kind of depend on you getting upgraded units by tripling. So, Horde Dragon specifically with tripling, and then the Fates doesn't necessarily need to be tripled, but with the Horde Dragon, whenever you get 3 of a specific unit, you'll get a treasure, and with Horde Dragon you get to pick a treasure that's 1 tier higher. This can get pretty strong. It starts off fairly strong if you can find your triples, because you'll never have any of those middling 2 cost treasures, although that kind of locks you out of ever getting the Hermes Boots option, but that's quite a trade-off for being able to find the level 7 treasures relatively easily in the late game. So if you're one of those players that likes to play compositions that requires a tier 7 treasure, like Treants now with the round table at tier 7, then Horde Dragon's going to be a strong pick for you if you prefer that sort of composition. And then the Fates, this is a really super strong bonus in the early game if you find your triples, and it's actually follows through. It's not too bad towards the late game. If you get a whole bunch of upgraded dwarves, that +5/+5 gets pretty significant, especially when it's on the doubly unit, which is actually triply. So he actually ends up getting +15/+15. For if you upgrade them with the Fates. I do kind of have them, actually I'll put Horde Dragon back here. This is my order for the strength of them, so I find Merlin to be the strongest beginner one. Horde Dragon is second on this list. Pup, followed by Jack's Giant. It kind of depends. Jack's Giant doesn't require you to have a specific unit type, but the bonus falls off faster, whereas with Pup, the bonus stays the same, but you can upgrade your support units as you go along as well. So Mrs. Claus and Krampus, it's a wash, just kind of depends on what style you like to play. The Mrs. Claus, or the good units, typically have some special abilities and can be bigger in some instances, but the evil units, they have the token makers like the Black Cat and the Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, where you kind of double up on the bonus. So 6 of one, half dozen the other, depends on what you like. Some in some metagames, because the devs are currently changing characters on a week-to-week basis, so sometimes good will be better, sometimes evil will be better. Geppetto, might be ahead of Mrs. Claus. Yeah, definitely ahead of, now that it's a +3/+3 bonus. I'm still kind of always think of Geppetto with that +2/+2, which wasn't that great, but with the +3/+3, he's definitely better than Mrs. Claus or Krampus. And then in the last place, I do have the Fates for the starter heroes, just because it asks you to get triples, and then it's just a +5/+5, whereas, if you kind of getting your first triple on like turn 8, turn 9, that +5/+5 isn't going to be that significant, and it'll probably be on a level 2 or a level 3 character, which might not be that strong even with that bonus, and you're going to be wanting to look to switch out of it pretty quickly anyways. So we'll take a look at the big long list of heroes here. We're all over on the wiki, so big shout out to the people that work on the wiki. I'll put a link to the wiki in the description of the video as well. And we'll just go over some of the first buys. Ivella is extremely strong. In the early and mid game. Barring you get some specific units, i.e. evil animal type units, as well as the Queen of Hearts and the Bearded Vulture. Ivella usually stays quite healthy through the up until the early late game, in which case you do have to kind of look to transition or get lucky on finding your 6-drop of choice, which is the Berenstain typically, and probably Echowood as well. But yeah, Ivella is very strong contender for one of your first buys for sure, if you like the play style that she brings with her. Fallen Angel is another very strong character and consideration for your first buy. It allows you to be pretty free with how you choose your units and switch them in and out as you go up. You don't have to stay all on good units like Miri might ask you to, or the Snow Angel hero. And then the bonuses that, it's only a +2/+2 given, or +2/+0, +0/+2, depending on how your composition goes, but that's actually pretty significant in those early and mid-game turns. Arguably, Fallen Angel is probably better than Ivella, because you get to continually upgrade your characters as you're going along and increase your stats as you go. Another, probably the best character to get in your for your first buy would be Loki. This iteration of him right now, for the free spells in the early game, they can be at worst, a minor buff. And when it gets, if he hits the right spells in the early game, he's pretty unbeatable. You just have to play well, and he'll keep you going. He does fall off in the late game, but you should be far enough ahead at that time that you've got enough health, and it should have kept up on your board presence enough to have a composition going, or switch into a composition by the end game to be able to go there. So Loki definitely look to be one of your first buys, absolutely. There's some people who like Peter Pants. I am not a big fan of this hero, but if you like a challenge, he's good for that, and he also makes it pretty easy to get into certain compositions. Namely the Spells Matters compositions, so that might be a factor for you. Sad Dracula is fairly strong, although I found when I got up in the higher ranks, it really fell off a lot, because it does kind of ask you to get a specific unit, the Shadow Assassin, relatively early. I seem to have horrible luck with that, although when I do get it, obviously I do get a good result with this character, so this is another one of your considerations. Skip the Time Skipper is extremely strong as well, although it does require a little bit more advanced knowledge of the game, so I wouldn't suggest it for one of your first ones, but definitely as you're getting more and more comfortable with the game, then Skip's going to be another one of those earlier buys. And then the last one to talk about, Wonder Waddle. Very, very strong in the past. Not quite as strong right now because they switched around some of the animals in the 3-drop slot especially. So you're a little bit more limited to your 3-drop animals and getting the easy treasures that way, but can definitely lead to some broken things, especially with the 3 blind mice, where now you only have to find 2 of the blind mice to get yourself that level 4 treasure. They removed the big thing that made Wonder Waddle super overpowered, but you can still, if you find the 2 blind mice and you find your Dwarven Forge early, then you can switch right over into dwarves pretty quickly. And get ahead that way, because now you only need 2 dwarves each to upgrade the unit, and not only on top of your animals for getting some of those desirable level 2 and level 3 treasures that you might be looking for as well. So yeah, Wonder Waddle, Skip, Sad Dracula, Peter Pants if you are that kind of a player, Loki, the number 1 choice, Fallen Angel, and Avella would be where I would look to buy your first characters. Now, I do have some free dust to give away, courtesy of the good people over at Good Luck Games. So for the first 5 commenters that post in the comments down below with the choice of the first hero that you would buy with the 4,000 dust that I have to give away, that you will be eligible for that. So first 5 posts that come through will get a code back through the PM system in YouTube there, and you can apply that on your in-game where is it? Store? No, it's here. So yes, click on the gear wheel, redeem code, type in the code there, and then you'll get 4,000 dust, which you can use to spend on a hero. I appreciate you all for checking out my video. Give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful. And yeah, ask any other questions in the comments below as well. Even if you aren't one of the first 5, always happy to address those. I appreciate you all, and we will see you in the next one.